Ms. Botnick, why is it that you want the house sold?
Well, Jody mentioned that as well
I
because
didn't ask what he did. I asked, why do you want it sold?
Or my client could answer the question.
So moving on, she actually addresses right here the allegations that she's cheating on her husband.
So you are also communicating with another gentleman now, aren't you?
I have a friend that I text, but I'm not.
A male friend?
Yes.
That you are anticipating and romantically texting, correct?
He lives in Chattanooga, so
I didn't ask where he lives.
Okay, well, no, we don't talk like that.
You don't
He's
talk that-
support a friend because I'm going through this and I need a friend. And I don't have a lot of girlfriends that really care, so I'm reaching out to him as a...
We're going to subpoena your text records from him.
Oh.
And I'm asking you right now, we've already established that you embellish or tell falsehoods. And I'm asking you right now to create a record because we have a court reporter. They are not romantic in nature. Is that correct? Yes or no?
We don't really talk like that over text.
Yes or no?
message.
Not
I
to
guess
the
I just
point
don't
of-
look at it that way.
Not what y'all are going to do when your divorce is over. Can't wait to see him. And so you are not romantically involved with anybody.
I did sleep with him. But we don't talk about it.
Look at.
You understand, I called you as a witness first, and I asked you if you were seeing anybody, didn't I?
I'm not seeing him. He lives in
Oh,
Chattanooga.
you're just having sex with him?
Yeah.
I had sex with him twice.
Why? Oh, I did sleep with him. Now I have
But we
slept with
don't
him
text
multiple
about
times.
He lives in Chattanooga. I slept with him twice.
Right. Where?
And 2 times in a hotel.
Oh,
Where?
One time in a hotel, 1 time in a hotel.
Where?
you're still married.
First time was Nashville, second time was in Murfreesboro.
Oh, you traveling around the
pay for it?
country for dick.
He did.
So you're looking for somebody else to start taking care of?
Yeah.
No, I don't want him. We don't even really talk now because I thought I was going to work it out with my husband.
For today's video, I want you guys to step into the courtroom, to the divorce courtroom. Family law is crazy. Now, there's a lot more information on the internet today for men to become accustomed to what can happen if a divorce happens, which happens in 50% of all marriages within the United States. And oftentimes we hear how negative it can be for a man. So in the court case that I have for you guys here today, you will be floored. This guy chose the absolute wrong woman to marry. 3 baby fathers for 3 children, was pregnant when he proposed, and 3 months after she popped the baby out, married her. This one is a damn doozy, but make sure you watch the entirety of this video so you can learn more about something that 50% of all married people may go through. Without further ado, let's get it in.
Joseph Tootle versus Jordan Lindsay Balkneck.
Your Honor, if I could, I'm here on behalf of my client, Mr. Joseph Tootle. We filed a complaint for absolute divorce in this matter. It's a very, very short-term marriage. The parties were just married in September of 2023.
Okay.
And what we have, Your Honor, is that the crux of this case and really the only asset of this marriage comes down to the parties prior to their marriage purchased a home at 1047 Yellow Creek Highway. My client put down a significant down payment on the home. Well, the down payment was put prior to the marriage, and the purchase was right after the parties married. The property is approximately between $700,000 and $800,000 home, has a significant mortgage on it. What we're asking, Your Honor, is for exclusive possession of the home. Mrs. Botnick, again, this is a short-term marriage. Mrs. Botnick has 3 children from prior relationships. In fact, she was with child at the time of the party's marriage that is not my client's child.
What?
And she has just
was
finished another
pregnant?
custody matter with that child's father. And again, she's not contributing financially. They purchased a vehicle that she is driving, and we are asking that she and the children, and she's allowed her mother, Miss Carol Ledford, to move into the home also.
The mama's
So there's
there.
6 people cohabitating in this home, and my client is having to pay all of meet the financial responsibility of the home. So it's our request that she be ordered to vacate the premises, or in the alternative, given the fact that herself, her 3 children, and her mother are living there, that my client pays 1/6 and she pays 5/6 of all the expenses associated with the home. The home, again, we're going to have an issue. The home has just been purchased. It's very unlikely that there's significant equity. She is not in a position, it's our claim that she's not in a position to buy my client out of the home or get the home refinanced into her own name.
Okay.
but she is not contributing. And she has now begun having extramarital relations, and as a result of that, we want her out of the house.
Whoa. So let me just breathe on a track real quick. So this is what family court, this is what divorce court looks like. That is the man right there, the husband, hopefully soon to be ex-husband, and this is the wife. These are the two lawyers that are representing them. Now, the claims here are just insane. This sucker married her when it sounds like she had 3 kids. One was currently cooking at the point of marriage, does not make any money, moved her mama in, and is now cheating on him. Absolutely ridiculous work. But the information of interest is that down payment on home, which he wants her out of, and rightfully so if she's cheating. Down payment was made prior to marriage, but then the house wasn't closed on until they were married. This guy made so many mistakes, but let's proceed.
Your Honor, just briefly, parties were married September 4th, 2023. The home that they currently reside in was purchased, conveyed to both of them as husband and wife, Joseph Tootle and Jordan Bachnick, by warranty
He didn't
deed.
even take his last name?
Executed September 26, 2023, recorded with the Register of Deeds September 29th, 2023. The approximate purchase price was $800,000. 20% was paid down, which is approximately $160,000.
By the man. She ain't paid none of it. And her name's on the deed, I bet you.
Mr. Tootle makes a significantly higher income than Ms. Bachnick.
Okay.
With respect to the her children who live there, Mr. Tootle was fully aware that Ms. Bachnick had children when they married, fully aware that they would be moving into the residence. And with respect to Ms. Bachnick's mother, he agreed that she could move into the residence. Our position, Your Honor, is that the house is a marital residence. Mr. Tootle has significantly more income than Ms. Bachnick, and we have filed before the court today is a motion to sell the marital residence, and we would propose that upon its sale, the net proceeds be paid into court, and then we can proceed with the divorce.
Wow.
In that regard. But I would submit to the court there's no basis to grant Mr. Tootle exclusive possession of the marital home. Ms. Bachnick's name is on the deed. It's a marital asset, and submit that she's entitled to reside there just as much as he is.
Wow.
Right?
Then I would call Ms. Botnick.
This is what happens when you take on liabilities. She had all of their kids and you said yes. She had no way to make significant income and you still said yes. She
Please
moved
write
her mama
in
in and
person
you
or-
still said yes. You put her name on the deed.
State your name, please, ma'am.
Jordan Lindsay Bachnick,
And Ms. Botnick, where do you work?
Envision Healthcare.
And what do you do for Envision Healthcare?
I'm an AP specialist.
The hell is
And
that?
what,
Please scoot up a little bit towards that microphone
Sorry.
so we make sure it's picking
I'm
up.
an AP specialist.
and what does that mean?
Accounts payable. I work for the same company as Joseph.
And what is your rate of pay?
22 an hour.
You work 40 hours a week,
Yes, ma'am.
and you have 3 children by how many different men?
3.
And how much child support do you get?
I get child support 1 kid and $697.
$697 for what child?
1 child, and I don't get child support from the other 2.
What child do you get the 190?
Sailor, the baby.
And who is Sailor's father?
Nick Ellis.
And that's your youngest child?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in,
Not only was she a single mother, but she was a single mother 3x by 3 other different men. and you still said yes to all of that. This is why there's so much literature or so much media that expect men to be these altruistic, forever forgiving of a woman's past. Meanwhile, her past was the biggest red flag, but you submitted yourself to the red flag the size of Haley's comet. For what? Hopefully this man gets some justice here, but damn, did he walk into this situation.
Were in fact pregnant with Sailor at the time that you married?
No,
Or right after you had just had the child?
I just had him. He was born in June and I got married in September.
Okay.
You proposed to a
And
woman that
what
was
sort?
pregnant with
you-
another man's
and
child.
you have just settled a lawsuit on paternity with Mr. Ellis?
Yes,
And when was that done?
February.
Disgusting work.
And what are the names and ages of your other children?
12 and 10. 12-year-old is Ryder. 10-year-old is Bryson.
How old are they?
Ryder's 12,
And Bryson is
10.
10.
And Sailor is 10 months,
10
almost.
months. When did your mother move into the home?
She started staying there in October.
October of 2023, right after y'all married in September, is that correct?
Right.
And what was the reason?
She was helping me with the kids, helping us with the kids.
How much does she pay to live there?
She helps with the kids, so in
stays
return,
free.
she gets to stay there.
Okay, she helps with your children.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
This is
And
crazy.
so you're just giving her free room and
This guy's
board?
a pillow cushion.
For helping me watch the kids.
She
What
need
does
a
she do
job.
for a living?
She works at
Oh,
Walmart.
she works. She could afford her own crib.
So she's capable of paying something to
Yes.
live there.
Well, she's helping me watch the kids.
That wasn't the question.
In your lawsuit with Mr. Ellis, did you claim any work-related child care expenses?
Yes.
You did.
No, child care, what are you talking
Child
about?
care expenses, when you calculate
Why
child
when the
support,
mom's
no.
there?
you didn't
No.
claim any work-related child care expenses?
No.
Okay.
This was Nicholas Ellis.
It is.
Yes.
I know Mr. Nicholas Ellis. He grew up with my children. I haven't seen him or had any contact with him in the last 20 years probably. So I just want to make everyone aware of the fact that there is some connection. He played on a soccer team with my son and
Yes, sir.
daughter for a while. If that creates a problem, I'll be glad to address that.
We waive any conflict, Your Honor.
All right.
At the point in time, did you admit to your husband that you only married him for financial security?
No.
You sure about that?
Yes.
That's your statement under oath?
Yes.
Did you threaten, at the point in time when he told you he wanted a divorce, did you threaten to throw yourself against the wall so that you could get an order of protection and kick him out of the house?
No.
You allowing your children have you allowed any of your minor children to operate any motor vehicle in and around the property?
I let my son drive down the driveway.
And he ran over shrubs and things, is that correct?
One shrub.
And that's your 12-year-old or your 10-year-old?
I let my 10-year-old.
Your 10-year-old's driving a vehicle that caused some slight damage to the property, is that correct?
He drove down the driveway and ran over a shrub.
Did you replace it?
No, not yet.
Okay. Do you allow your children to shoot arrows into the drywall of the
No.
home? You didn't sit there and videotape it and laugh
I
at it?
videotaped my son shooting an arrow into a cardboard box.
Not into the garage and damaging the property?
No.
Where are your children in school?
Ryder is in middle school.
Your Honor, I want to object to relevance. I mean, we're here for a motion for exclusive possession, and we're getting into, almost like we have a parenting plan. These children are.
No, Your Honor, I apologize. The pact is financially, where are the children in school? The issue, we want her to move, where the kids are going to school, whether they're homeschooled, whether they're in public school, how she's spending her money is the reason that I'm asking those questions.
Unfortunately, parties, even on a short-term marriage, bring something before the court regarding financial matters. Every aspect of their life becomes fair game. Overruling objection.
So where are they in school?
Good job, Judge.
Ryder's in middle school at Dixon Middle. Bryson is at Oakmont, and Sailor's a baby.
And your mother stays home and keeps him?
Yes.
Okay.
On Tuesdays and Thursdays because I have to go into the office.
And then otherwise you work from home?
Yes.
And where is the office located?
In Green Hills.
You have health insurance coverage through your employer?
I did. I have dental. I used to have dental. I haven't checked on
Who
that.
covers your children for health insurance?
The state.
You make $40,000 a year, live in a $700,000 home, and your children are on TennCare?
Objection leading.
Adverse witness.
Adverse witness rule.
I don't think she's been established as an adverse witness. She's answering all Ms. Roberts' questions. She called her on
She's the
direct.
adverse party, so I'm going to assume or take judicial notice of the fact that an adverse party is an adverse party for purposes of the adverse party rule. Overrule.
Is that correct?
Yes,
It's not on Families First. When was the last, are they on Families First?
no,
They're just on TandCare.
right.
When did you apply for TandCare?
Whenever I was single.
Beg pardon?
When I was single and not married. So it was prior to marriage that they were on it.
And have you updated it?
No, not yet.
Did you disclose that you had the availability of health insurance through your employer for your children?
No,
You still receiving food stamps too?
no.
When did you stop getting food stamps?
Several months ago.
When?
October, November?
October of November of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it time for you to re-up for your food stamps?
Yes. And I didn't qualify.
And you did not qualify, but you applied and tried to continue to get food stamps,
No,
correct?
I did not.
Well, how'd you know you didn't?
You did
apply?
not fill out an application?
No, I did not fill out an application.
Have you contributed to the house payment?
No,
Why not?
because I'm paying for everything else.
What is everything else that you're paying for?
Groceries to stay in the house, and I pay for all my kids, groceries, clothes, and I filled out a form, basically showing what I do pay for.
Pay any of the utilities?
No,
Pay any insurance on the vehicle you're driving?
yes,
You pay for your insurance
I pay for my insurance
and your vehicle.
on
What
my
kind of-
vehicle,
What kind of vehicle are you driving?
a Tahoe.
2021 Chevy Tahoe?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much are the payments on that?
A little over 1,000.
Who's making those payments?
I am.
When did you start making those payments?
2 months ago. I've made 3 payments so far. So 3 months now.
When did you purchase that vehicle?
August 22nd of 23.
You acknowledge that the down payment on the home came from his separate funds, do you not?
Donna, I'm going to object. That calls for a legal conclusion.
I'm sorry.
I object. That calls for a legal conclusion as to what separate funds are.
I'll rephrase the question. Did you have any money when the contract was made on this house?
I had my own money.
How much did you have?
At the time, I don't recall how much I had.
Did you pay $160,000 down on this house?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
No, I didn't put money down on the
Okay,
house.
why did you say you don't recall?
Well, to your question before that,
Objection asked and answered.
Rule.
no, I did not pay money on the house.
You know that your husband had money that he put down on this house that was not your money.
Right. After we were married, though, he paid money on the house.
And he paid for your attorney, for your paternity actions too, didn't he?
He helped pay for my attorney with Nick.
And how much was that?
Object. I think that's privileged.
Object on what basis?
Privilege? I mean, third party may have paid it. They're married.
And you're talking about the attorney-client privilege?
Yeah, number one, I don't think it's relevant.
Now we're talking relevance instead of privilege.
Well, Judge, I think what a client pays an attorney, and the third party pays it,
I understand your point, Mr. Odle. And again, we're talking economics of two people who have been married for a short period of time. You will be able to ask questions of him regarding any expenditures he's made. And my understanding is that these questions are being asked to demonstrate the financial contributions each of them have made to the household. Because one of the motions that we have before the court today is the motion for exclusive possession of the marital residence, and that entails who's going to pay the mortgage for that. There's also a motion for a temporary division of marital debt, which is on the docket. So all of these issues are relevant on the issues that are before the court. She's not required to testify about any direct conversations that she may have with her attorney. But the question of if there were marital funds or his separate funds that were used to pay for her attorney, then for whatever relevance, whatever weight that is, I think it is relevant on the issue before the court.
Please repeat the question.
Who paid for your attorney?
Joseph did.
Did you ask him to do that
He offered to help me out.
when you got sued?
I didn't get sued.
Did you file the paternity suit, or did Mr. Ellis sue you? Did you sue
We
him?
agreed upon it. I didn't get sued.
He didn't file a petition against you,
Yes.
so you got sued.
Okay, I didn't know that was being sued.
Yes, ma'am. He filed a petition to establish paternity, Mr. Ellis did,
Okay.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you asked your husband for help in securing counsel for that, is that correct?
He offered.
Have you ever contributed anything to
Notice how her lawyer is trying to do everything in his power to either weaken or lessen the impact of his financial contributions on the marriage, within the marital assets, which is so ridiculous, just as the judge said, because they're trying to determine what happens with the house. There's a motion to sell the house, the one that he paid $160,000 for down payment on his own dime and has been paying mortgage payments for the last several months. All types of alarm bells should be going off in your head, because there is an actual consideration for that to happen when they've been married for less than a year.
other than paying for your children's food? Have you ever contributed anything to the mortgage, to the utilities, to the down payment on this house,
No, only
or the
herself.
payment of insurance or taxes on this house at all?
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's all.
Mr. Odell, you may question your client.
What she made was for her.
Mr. Odell, you want to ask her questions now, or you want to wait?
What he made was for the family.
Your Honor, I'm gonna call her on the
All right, now you can say.
Sorry.
And I would call Mr. Tootle.
Odell, if you'll come forward.
Okay. I gotta hear from this guy.
Raise your right hand, be placed under oath.
State your name for me, please, sir.
Joseph Tootle.
And Mr. Tootle, you married Ms. Erin Botnick back in September of 2023, is that correct?
That's correct.
How long had you known her prior to y'all's marriage?
Roughly 7 years.
And do y'all work at the same
We do.
company?
We do.
And what is your role at the company at Envision?
I'm VP of Accounting Information Systems.
Were you her direct supervisor?
No,
And y'all became acquainted through your employment, is that correct?
I knew her prior to employment. I helped her get the job.
Okay. How
What?
did you know her prior to the employment?
I met her at her work when she worked at Twin Peaks.
At where?
Twin Peaks
Hey, you got her the
Twin
job.
Peaks is a bar
Bar and
She's at a
Restaurant.
bar. Okay.
restaurant, and we'll just leave it, why the name of that, but at any rate,
Is it a strip
you
club?
met her there and got her a job. Did y'all start a romantic relationship at that point in time?
I helped her get a job probably about 2 years ago. We kind of hung out some in between there, from time of meeting till she got the job at our company.
And when did y'all become romantically involved?
Throughout the time I've known her, different instances.
And she was having relations with other people during that time too, particularly?
Objection leading.
Correct.
And you,
Well, the question is,
Why did you marry her?
sustained, it was leading, restate your question.
are you aware of whether or not, did y'all have an exclusive relationship?
We did not.
At what point in time did marriage come into the picture?
Roughly somewhere in July, after she had her job.
Okay. Did you ask her to marry, or was it just a, hey, let's do this? I mean, what was the?
We decided to date, and then as we started dating, we decided that after knowing each other for a period of time, that was the right move to make at that time, because she stated she was in love and wanted to be with me.
Okay.
Oh, God, Disney got him. That face right there is, they lied to me. They told me marriage was about love. You sucker. Oh, I feel so bad for you, my G. I feel so goddamn bad. You met her at the Twin Peaks. What? That's the script club, more than likely, allegedly. You got her a job. You pay for all of her shit. You move her in, you buy a home, you get married to her, her mama moves in. As soon as she spits out the child, you got up on bended knee for love? Oh.
And as a result of that, where were you living at the time?
In Franklin
And where was she living?
and Dixon.
And did she have a home?
She had an apartment.
And did you have a home?
I did.
One that you owned?
No, sorry, I was in an apartment as well.
Okay, you rented and she rented. is
She
that
rented and I
correct?
rented, correct.
Okay. And so y'all decided to she professed her love and you hers, and y'all decided to get married, and did you start looking for a place to live?
Started looking for a place prior to that, somewhere in July. We talked about looking for a place, so we were looking prior to being married.
Okay. And you found a home on Yellow Creek Highway,
Correct.
okay? And it's a very nice home. And y'all purchased, did you enter into a contract prior
And
to,
don't leave it with us.
when did you enter into a contract to purchase the property?
In August, and I put down earnest money in August.
How much did you put down?
It's $10,000 in earnest money
And then when was the closing scheduled?
for September 26th,
And y'all married when?
September 4th.
And on the 26th, was there a closing on that piece of property?
Correct, there
Was
was.
it placed in joint names?
Yes,
Was there money put down on the house?
roughly 160 plus the 10,000
And where was the source of that money?
came from my income. 120 was in savings, 40 I took a loan against my 401k.
Is there still a loan on the 401k?
Yes,
You took out a loan.
comes out of
for
my
a gold
paycheck.
digger.
How much did y'all purchase the home for?
It was 760,
And what is the monthly payments?
4,200. That doesn't include insurance and taxes.
And that's going to be my next. Was insurance and taxes escrowed in?
It was not escrowed in.
So other than when you purchased it in September, the down payment that you made, are you familiar with any other increases in value or any improvements to the property that's been made that would increase it significantly from what the purchase price was?
There's been no improvements to the property.
Did both of you sign the mortgage?
I'm the only one on the mortgage.
Both of you on a
You know
deed,
why?
but you were only on the mortgage.
It was better to qualify for interest rate under my income than using both.
So even though
That's
the
what-
house is
God,
in
you
joint
walked into
names,
a
the
movie
mortgage
truck.
is only in your name.
Correct,
Damn.
Now, you know how much she makes?
roughly,
What is that?
around 22. I knew when she got the job it was around 21, and there's been raises since then.
And how much do you make, sir?
Around to 190,
You've assisted me,
and
in-
that's without bonus, but bonus isn't guaranteed, so
you have assisted me in filling out an income and expense statement, is that correct?
that's correct.
Would you pass this to him? The officer's gonna pass you one, and Your Honor, we'll mark this for ID purposes at this point in time.
All right.
Could you review that? Does that adequately and reflect what what your income and your expenses are?
Yes,
So again, what you're looking at is you gross about $14,000 a month, is that right?
yes,
And then the expenses that are spelled out, the rent, the mortgage is $4,200, is that correct?
that's correct.
And how did you come up with the utilities? Are those just an average of what?
That was the average of what we'd had thus far, but again, this was in January, so there's only a couple of months to average it.
Right, so again, you've got the electricity and the gas, you have gas heat, correct?
We have gas, electric, water, yes.
Okay, and so again, with the summer and the air conditioning things, those are likely to go up, is that correct? Do you know
So
what
don't leave it with
I'll
us.
rephrase it. Do you think that these will be consistent or will they fluctuate?
Gas will probably go down, electric will probably go up.
Why have you got wife's telephone? Is that just
At
her?
the time I filed, I was paying her phone bill. She used my credit card multiple times, after I'd paid it once to pay it.
And then again, the rest of these are average expenses, is that right?
That's right. And the only thing on here I haven't been paying is the Tahoe. I stopped paying it in January.
And that's the 1,050, and that's the vehicle
correct.
she's driving. Had you previously paid it?
I'd been paying it since we bought it.
And when was it purchased?
We purchased it in August.
Right before the marriage?
Right
Whose-
before the marriage.
Whose name is it in?
It's in both of our names because she couldn't qualify on her own for it
Okay. And so,
with a good interest rate.
okay. And so again, looking at that, you're basically barely breaking even if you take away the $1,000.
I was until she started paying her bills.
Okay, until she started paying her bills. Okay.
My guess is that they live in a small town. That is proven by not only their accents, but then the judge is familiar with her baby daddy, her last baby daddy. So this man is making $200,000 per year in a small town, not including bonus, but because of love, because he puts this woman on a pedestal and wants to provide her the entire world, he is broke. This is what happens when you don't have boundaries. This is what happens when you are a wet noodle. This is what happens when you do not stand up for yourself as a man. This is what happens when you cannot say no. Thank God his wife stepped up to the plate to pay something of her own, her phone bill.
Tell me what's led to you Your Honor, we'll move that in as the next exhibit.
But she wants the land in the house.
led
First exhibit, is it not?
Yes, that first one. What's led to you filing this divorce, sir?
We started having issues in October, which was relatively shortly after being married. She even told me that her therapist and her had discovered that through their therapy that she wasn't really in love with me, and that she wanted consistency and stability for her kids,
Yeah.
and thought that she could love me over time. At that point in time, we talked about getting a divorce. We tried to work it out multiple times, and we kind of wound up back at the same spot.
Because she wants money.
So she had to go to therapy to figure out she didn't love you?
She wants
Jackson leading.
an escape
Stand.
plan.
Has she contributed anything financially to this marriage?
Other than groceries for her and her kids, no.
What about has she made any threats towards you?
Multiple.
Tell me about those.
We got into an argument,
Verbal argument, physical argument, what?
verbal argument. I'm not a physical person. And we talked about, in that argument, divorce came up, and she wanted me out of the house. She said she would throw herself against the wall and call the cops, say I did it. That was one occasion. Another occasion, she threatened, or she said she'd called the cops. So I said I'd come to the house, wait for the cops to get there. They never came. Recently, as 2 weeks ago, she said that she was going to call the cops, that I'd hit her in front of her 12-year-old, which obviously I didn't. So multiple times that's happened, to the point where I had to get a camera for the room I stay in
Good.
to make sure that anything would be videoed to show that I'm not a
Violent.
physical person.
Right. Holy moly. Put cameras in
And-
your cribs.
Is she asking you to assist her with the children?
When the marriage was going okay, I helped take them to school. I helped buy food. I did multiple things.
And have you asked her have there been issues where there has been damage done to the marital residence at the hands of the children?
There have, and I was lied to about what had happened. Cabinet door was broken. She had told me she fell holding the baby, and that's what broke the cabinet. Come to find out, the 12-year-old told me that he broke it. He didn't know that I'd been lied to about that. When I asked her about the tree in the front yard that got run over, she said she was driving. And then, of course, there's other things that have happened, but it's always implied that I'm going to pay to fix it.
Okay. If they've been, I may have misunderstood, are they shooting bows and arrows or something in?
He was shooting bow and arrow at in the garage at a box. But of course, accuracy is not always on, so there are multiple holes from that. Another thing that kind of got me a little bit, I came home one day, we were in a fight, and they were going to do a fire in the fire pit that we have, even though we were in the middle of a drought and a heavy windstorm. And when I said not to do it, I was told that not to talk to our kids all that day.
Did they?
They did not start the fire, thankfully.
So you have financial responsibility for these children, but you don't have father responsibility for these children. Imagine being in your own hold, held hostage by the woman that you married through the decisions, the choices that the children are making, and you being unable to do anything about it. This man simped his way to a horrible life based off of the symmetry in her face. Crazy.
You care for her children.
I do.
The fact of finding out that there's possibly untruths that are being told and that don't want her children put in the middle of that, do you?
Not at all.
Do you feel safe living there in the home while she's there?
I don't think she would do anything to me physically, but I do worry that if she were to have multiple threats, that at some point the threats are going to come true for her, saying that she'll call the cops and say I did something, which I would never do.
And how many occasions has she threatened that?
3 different. She's threatened to call the cops 4 times, but 3 of them she was trying to imply that I had done something.
Okay. And have you ever been physically physically abusive to her?
No,
You ever laid hands on her in any type of an aggressive or inappropriate manner?
no,
Her mother's living there.
correct.
Is she contributing anything financially?
She watches the kids and helps clean the house, but nothing financially.
Was there a discussion about that prior to her moving in?
I was told she was coming to visit, and then after she'd been there for a little bit, she basically said that she was going to stay there through the winter because it's cold. She has a pull-behind trailer that she has property on, or she has
So
property
she
she
just
can put
stayed.
it on. But there was never really a formal discussion of how long she was going to be there.
The old coming to visit trick.
But is she bathing and fixing her meals and
Yes,
sleeping there?
yes,
Is she contributing anything to the utilities?
no,
Is your wife contributing anything to the utilities or to the upkeep and the maintenance of the home?
no,
Are you capable of maintaining the home and continuing to pay for it?
yes,
If the court determines that she's entitled to any equity as a result of it, do you have the availability to buy her out of whatever the court deems would be her appropriate share?
not at this time. It's all in the home.
Everything is in the home, is that correct?
That's correct. My entire down payment was,
Other than the threats and the non-contribution financially, is there any other reason why you want her and the children and her mother out?
no.
That's all. Thank you. Now, Mr. Odell's going to have some questions for you.
All right, so, Mr. Tootle, you've known Ms. Botnick for years.
Roughly 7 or 8.
You got married September 4th, 2023.
Correct.
You knew she had an infant child at that time, correct?
Correct.
You knew she had 2 other children, ages 12 and 10, correct?
Correct.
And you knew they would be residing in the house with you and your wife, correct?
Correct.
You did?
Yes, correct.
All right, so you didn't have a problem with that?
No.
And you testified that you like her kids?
Yes.
Now, with respect to her mother, you and Ms. Botnick had a conversation about her mother coming to live there, correct?
Coming to visit.
And then subsequently, you had a conversation about her mother continuing to stay there, and you agreed to it.
We agreed she could stay until winter was over.
So it's your testimony that you and Ms. Botnick had a discussion where you agreed that her mother would just come there for a very short period of time until winter. Is that your testimony?
Yeah, my testimony is that we talked about it. Being newlywed, I agreed to do it. It would upset my wife.
What did you specifically agree to? When was her mother supposed to move out?
They said after winter, so I'm assuming after winter is March,
Okay,
April.
but that's an assumption, isn't it?
It is an assumption.
After winter.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, but that's what they agreed to.
Do you like Ms. Botnick's mother?
I do. We get along.
Okay. So no issue there. You agree that she helps out the children and that you like the children.
Correct.
I want to talk about this shooting of a bow and arrow in the garage, okay? You testified that, who was it? Which child was it?
It was Ryder.
Okay. So, Mr. Tootle, do you have a copy of your income and expense statement you testified to? You have it in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. So you testified that you make gross approximately $190,000 a year.
That's salary without bonus. And bonus is
Okay.
not guaranteed though.
Okay, so you
So
make,
this is based on my guaranteed income.
okay, so you make more than $190,000?
Yes,
Okay.
on a good year.
Okay, well, let's talk last year. What was your bonus last year?
Bonus was 40% of my salary.
Okay, give me a number.
40% of 180 at the time. So I don't know, what's that? 70,000
So you got $70,000 bonus, so,
minus taxes. 35%.
okay, but you said $180,000 and a $70,000 bonus.
Right.
That's $250,000.
But I don't get it at the end of the year. Right.
Okay.
It's paid quarterly, just for the record.
When's the last time you didn't get a bonus?
Well, 40% is not what you get all the time. Sometimes you get 20%.
That wasn't my question. When's the last time you didn't get a bonus?
I haven't had it's been a couple of years.
So you didn't get a bonus 2 years ago?
I'm saying it's been years.
Years.
Right.
Okay, think a decade?
Maybe.
Okay. Mr. Tootle, every year you get a sizable bonus, don't you? You're under
Sizable,
oath.
yeah. Yeah, sizable. Yeah.
So when you say bonus is not guaranteed, that's a little misleading, isn't it?
No, that's the terms of the bonus.
Okay.
Bonus is 40%.
For you-
40% is if we hit max terms of the company.
Okay.
That's not misleading.
Your track record is that you've gotten bonus for years and years
Yes.
without fail, correct?
Mr. Hurdle, just to tell you, I don't control my bonus. It's based on company performance.
I understand you don't control it, but I'm asking you a question about
I get
the
it, yeah.
historic
Yes,
bonuses
I
you've
get,
received.
no, a payroll,
Fair to say you make $250,000 a year at least?
not every year.
Accurate statement. Income's not accurate.
Income's off by maybe, what, a couple $100?
He's not answering the question. His income.
When I said 180, that was based on salary alone.
Mr. Tootle, if you'd be quiet when we're talking, okay?
So, Your Honor, he has testified that last year he made a base salary of $180,000 plus a $70,000 bonus. He testified when Ms. Roberts was questioning him that his base salary is $190,000 with no guaranteed bonus. He said that he filled this statement out in January and.
Financial statement into evidence. It is an income and expense statement.
So, Mr. Tootle, I want to talk about the house, marital residence. You all closed on that house on September 26, 2023. Do you agree with me on that?
Yes.
I just want to provide to you a copy, asking to identify it.
Judge, we stipulate and agree, and it's been testified that the home is in joint names.
Judge, I would then ask the warranty deed to be next exhibit.
All right, make the warranty deed Exhibit 2.
So, when you all got married, September 4th, you knew what your wife's income was, correct?
Yes.
She'd been fully transparent with you about the money she made.
There's one item that was not transparent, and that was she got income from her dad passing away. She told me it was roughly $700 a month that she was getting, which she now states she no longer gets.
Okay.
So yes, I knew. Outside of that, I didn't know child support. I know that one child, Bryson, was getting child support of roughly $700 a month from, but there was problems with it being paid.
Okay. Well, you knew that you made substantially more money than she did, correct?
Correct.
So you all bought this house in September of 2023, correct?
Correct.
And you knew when you bought it that you were the one that had the ability to pay the debt, correct?
Yeah, I do not, I planned on paying for
Yeah.
house and bills, but not her bills.
Okay, I'm talking about the mortgage payment, all
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, when you and she bought it and you all put her name on the deed because you wanted to jointly own the house, right? That was the intention.
The reason we put her on the house because we were being married, and I thought that it was going to be something that would last.
Thought wrong.
You made that decision.
Yes.
You wanted her name to be on the deed with you. You wanted to own this property together, correct?
Correct.
And this $700,000 to $800,000 house that you bought, you knew that it was being bought because you had the ability to pay for it, correct?
Correct. And I
You
thought
weren't
that,
relying upon this.
Yeah, and again, if he could finish his answer before Mr. Odle starts questioning him again.
Please let him answer the question fully before you begin answering.
Yeah.
Asking the next question.
yeah, the reason I put her on there, I thought that my money for the down payment would be considered separated party going into it and coming out of it, only to learn that it's not, obviously.
Okay, so you agree that house is a marital asset, correct?
Yeah, I think
And
that's,
the equity in it is,
And again, calling for a legal conclusion, as Mr. Odle has pointed out earlier, and I would object for asking my client to draw a legal conclusion.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Objection, calling for a legal conclusion. Same objection that Mr. Odle made.
so the rule, John.
I overruled his objection. I thought I overruled his objection. State your question one more time, please.
Mr. Tootle, you agree that the equity in the house, that's a marital asset, correct?
if there is,
That's what I'm,
I think that does call for a legal conclusion because there was a difference between that question and the question that was asked by Ms. Roberts. You're asking him if it's a marital asset, and that is a legal term that the court has to determine what the marital assets are. If there is equity in the property that came, I think the question Ms. Roberts asked was, is the equity or the $160,000, whatever was paid down on the house, did that come from his separate funds? That was the question she asked that you objected to as a legal conclusion. It was not a legal conclusion in this court's opinion to ask someone if the down payment came from separate funds of that person. You're asking him if it's a marital asset, which is a legal term used by the court in determining what are the marital and separate assets. That's the reason I'm sustaining and why I see a difference in the two.
Mr. Tootle, do you agree that you and your wife own this house that you live in currently together?
she's on the title, yes.
You all equally own it?
I mean, I guess by the title, yes, but there's no equal to it.
I want to talk to you. So you said your wife's threatened you
Yes, multiple times.
since the divorce was filed?
Once was prior, back in roughly late October, early November. I had to go get a hotel room for 2 nights to let things cool down at the advice of my friend who is an attorney. Then there was another time somewhere in November where we were disagreeing on potentially what the divorce would do. Then there was a time just 2 weeks ago in front of her 12-year-old.
This divorce filed January 26, 2024, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You and your wife had sex since then?
Once.
So you weren't too scared of her, were you?
Like I
You
said,
agreed to
I
have
wasn't.
sex with her.
Like I said, I'm not scared of her. What I was scared of is I'm afraid that she would say that something happened, but nothing did happen. And the reason is because I think she's using that to try and get a temporary restraining order to get me out of the house.
But you had sex with her. Since you filed the divorce, you've had sex with her.
Yes, one time.
They had sex with each other. So I fast forward a lot within this case right here, back to the cross-examination of the wife.
Yes.
Is your gross monthly income before tax reflected on the income and expense statement $3,912.46?
Yes.
Okay, that's monthly, correct?
Yes.
And your federal tax and other taxes are $589.38?
Yes.
Okay. You have your monthly expenses listed below. Can you go through and explain to the court what those monthly expenses are?
So I pay my car payment of $1,034, my cell phone, my gas. Do you want me to list the amounts too?
Yeah, or that, well, yes.
Okay. And then cell phone, I pay $450. My fuel, gas for my car is $320. And my car insurance is $468. And food and groceries a month for us is $1,200, roughly. And
Imagine making $40,000 per year and paying $1,500 a month for a vehicle. Talk about while having 3 kids, 2 of which are not even on child support, your expectation of housing, your expectation of support of your kids, all because you suckered a man to affording you this lifestyle. Having to go to your therapist to figure out that you were never in love with him. Really need your therapist in order to figure that out? Crazy this is a case where more financial burden is being put up on the man. Meanwhile, there's no talk here about marriage fraud. Why? Because there's not protection for men who put themselves in this position.
laundry, cleaning supplies is about $350, and cleaning, personal care, $400, and entertainment is about $489, and my 401k is $117.37.
Okay, I want to go through each one of those.
Okay.
Your car payment is on the SUV, and what is that vehicle?
Tahoe.
And
You have a copy that you'd like for me to look at?
I'm sorry,
Because
Judge.
Obviously, it's a lot more difficult for me to follow along with what's being said if I'm not looking at it. You gonna take a picture of it?
I am, Judge, I'm a copy short.
Just let the clerk run it. Can't we just run a photocopy of what?
I can run him a copy.
You can go ahead and ask, but obviously, we'll run a photocopy and give you back the original.
I thought I had an extra copy, 3 copies.
Just for future reference, it's always beneficial if you're asking a witness about a document that you're going through a lot of detail on. It's always helpful to give the judge a copy of it so that I can understand it, because listening to it and when you two are going over it, kind of flies over my head, so.
My apologies, Judge.
It's all right.
Ms. Bachnick, I'm just going to move on to something else, then come back to that. Okay. You've marriage in September.
Yes.
Okay, so you and your husband married in September.
Yes.
Okay. Following the marriage, was a house purchased?
Right.
And you've continued to reside there until the present day.
Yes.
Are you and your husband living there together?
Yes.
If the court denies the motion for exclusive possession that's been filed by your husband and puts parameters in place relative to you and your husband continuing to cohabitate there, will you abide by all such?
Yes, I can respect that, what he needs.
Okay. Ms. Bachnick, going back to the income expense statement, the car payment, which was number one, see that?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
It's $1,034.27. Okay, that is a payment on what vehicle?
The Chevy Tahoe.
Do you primarily drive that vehicle?
I'm the only one that drives that vehicle primarily, yes.
Who are the titled owners to that vehicle?
Me and Jody.
And who is obligated on the indebtedness owed and secured by the vehicle?
Jody.
How long have you been making that payment?
I'm the past 3 months, so I've made 3 payments total.
Okay. So moving forward, are you willing to timely make that payment?
Yes.
The second line item is a cell phone.
Right.
All right, so I'm actually skipping forward into the proceeding until the husband's lawyer gets up to cross-examine the wife. I think she asked some very interesting questions. Let's listen in.
Ms. Botnick, why is it that you want the house sold?
Well, Jody mentioned that as well
I
because
didn't ask what he did. I asked, why do you want it sold?
Or if my client could answer the question.
I agree.
I don't think she's asking the question, she's answering the question. She's saying that he wanted it sold too, but the question is, why does she want it sold? So.
Right. Because that was a house we were married in. And I just, if I'm leaving, then we both move on. I want the house sold.
But just in revenge.
No, definitely not revenge. I'm not vindictive like that.
Okay. Well, you put this income and expense statement for whatever the truth of it is that
I'm
you don't
object
have,
argumentative.
you don't have,
Staying on the sidebar comments, don't make sidebar comments.
you're stating that you only have $3,912 a month to support you, your 3 kids, and your mother.
Right.
And you're gonna sell a home that you've not contributed to whatsoever, correct?
Right.
And you're going to have that listed for sale, so there's gonna be a sales commission that's gonna be paid on it, correct?
Correct.
And then you're going to have capital gains tax on any income that you derived from that, correct? Did you know that?
Okay. Correct.
And so so again, it's certainly not for financial gain that you think you're gonna sell the house, is it?
Well, the divorce is going to end us. We're not going to be together anymore, and I want a fresh start. He will want a fresh start, and I want the house sold.
Because you want the money, right?
Yes.
Not necessarily, no.
Then walk away.
Now, in your income and expense statement, you use $3,912.46 is what your income is. But again, you're making $22 an hour.
Right.
So that's $45,000 and some change a year, correct? $45,760 a year.
Yes.
So you divide that out, and I divided by 52 weeks, and that's $3,813.
Okay.
Where did you, and do you make any overtime or anything else?
No, we're not allowed overtime.
But this income that you've got up here, this monthly income before taxes, does not include the $687, the $780, or the $599, which is an additional $2,066. Isn't that correct?
If that's what you have on there.
Well, you don't have it on there. I added it up. But if you look down at the bottom, monthly court order child support, $687.
And also, it's not consistent. I mentioned why.
You didn't put that on, that's not included in this number, is it?
Is it not?
Is it or is it not? This is what you've introduced as your income, ma'am.
It's not introduced
Okay.
because it's not consistent, because he doesn't have a job half the time, his father.
Well, see, I asked you, when I called you on direct examination, I asked you what child support you get, and you know what your testimony was?
Yes, and I told you.
No, you just said I only get it for Sailor. You get $687.
Right.
You didn't mention that you got it for Bryson.
Because I hardly get it.
Well, when was the last time you got it?
Last
month?
No, let me finish, please. I got it probably back in October of 2023. And I can show proof of that.
Have you instituted any cases against him to try to collect the money?
Well, it's kind of pointless because it's already garnished out of his wages, and it would cost me money that I don't really have to fight him. And
So you would instead let somebody who's not the father of your child support you and provide a home for you than to go get money from the
actual
person
father.
who's supposed to be supporting that child.
well, he does work sometimes, and when he does, I do get money for Bryson.
I think that was a fantastic question. He's co-signed on the car with you, indebted at least $8,000. He's on the hook for paying that extra $1,000 to $1,500 per month if you include insurance. So why would you then not want to utilize that money instead to get money from the father, the actual father of one of your children?
And I'm doing what I can. Make sure he has everything he needs.
You're doing what you can.
Right, for my kids.
Have you gotten another
Trying
job?
to sell the house that you didn't buy.
No, I have a baby. New baby.
Okay.
Well,
So what are you doing?
Does
I
that
don't-
preclude you from having to support your children?
I don't think I would have time to have another job when I work 40 hours a week.
You just work 40 hours a week.
Your mother's at home with the children.
And your mother is, you're providing a roof for your mother on somebody else's dime.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
She helps a lot with the children, so that's saving me on having to get childcare.
So go get another job.
Your 10-year-old has a cell phone,
Yes, everyone in his grade has one.
so we have to keep up with the Joneses. But, because everybody in his grade has one? Who
Well,
does
he rides
who
the
does
bus.
he call?
He games on it and stuff like that. That's what all the kids do these days.
But who's paying the internet so that he can log on to it out there at Yell Creek?
I am
You're paying the internet
on the phone.
on the phone?
I'm paying the cell phone.
Okay, he doesn't click on and get on and not use his cellular data?
I could use hotspot if I need to.
Who pays for the hotspot?
Me, I pay for my cell phone.
Where, okay, so that's what you're doing.
If I need to.
I didn't ask what you needed to, I asked what you were doing.
So right now, when he's not home, he runs off the service. I don't even know if he's even connected to the wireless internet half the time. He's 10.
Now, you go to Green Hills twice a week is what your testimony is?
Sometimes I go in Tuesdays and Thursdays, and she changes it up, but most of the time it's Tuesdays and Thursdays.
No, I didn't ask what most of the time. You testified when I put you on the witness stand first, that you have to go to Green Hills twice a week.
Right.
That's not true, is it?
Unless the weather's bad or if it's snowing, no, I don't go if it's snowing.
And you don't
And this
go,
past week, I didn't go on Tuesday because of the storms. So it does change sometimes.
so when I subpoena your work records and
Absolutely. Go
that they're
ahead.
going to tell you, you were at the office 2 times every week,
Go ahead.
every week since the beginning of this year.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
That's the truth.
Unless there's bad weather or if something's going on with the kids or if something's going on.
Well, how many times has something gone on?
Quite a bit. The weather, it was winter.
Now,
She's barely
I
at
want
the
to,
office.
I've got some black and white pictures, but I want to, I didn't print them in color, and I'm going to come to you and show you these if the court will allow. Just give me a little shot. And again, you were watching the video, you videoed yourself and you saw your son
Right, so he was
shooting the
safe.
holes into the drywall, or it's the insulation, isn't it?
Judge, may I haven't seen
You
these.
may approach and watch what's being shown.
I can't even see it.
You can't see that because it's so tiny.
Oh, well, now I can't see the screen. So, right, that's zoomed in.
I'm gonna give you some black and white photographs here that we're gonna make as an exhibit.
And these are zoomed in.
Yes, I'm not disputing, these are,
Right, and they're so tiny, it's hard to, I could putty them, but they're so tiny.
So moving on, she actually addresses right here the allegations that she's cheating on her husband.
so 2 occasions that you just admitted that you lied about. Now, you are also communicating with another gentleman now, aren't you?
I have a friend that I text, but I'm not, I mean,
A male friend
yes,
that you are anticipating and romantically texting, correct?
he lives in Chattanooga, so
I
there
didn't
might
ask where
be-
he
That's
lived.
where we live, right?
Okay, well, no, we don't talk like that.
You
He's
don't
a
talk about-
support a friend, because I'm going through this and I need a friend. And I don't have a lot of girlfriends that really care, so I'm reaching out to him as a,
Dick.
Well, I'm not trying to question you because we're gonna subpoena your text records from him.
Oh.
And I'm asking you right now, we've already established that you embellish or tell falsehoods. And I'm asking you right now to create a record because we have a court reporter. They are not romantic in nature. Is that correct? Yes or no?
we don't really talk like that over text
Yes or
message,
no?
though.
Not
I
to
guess
the
I just
point
don't
of,
look at it that way.
not what y'all are gonna do when your divorce is over. You can't wait to see him.
Just kind of been talking more about my feelings.
Okay. Okay, just understand that you're under oath and there's a penalty of perjury if you testify falsely. You understand that?
Right.
And so you are not romantically involved with anybody.
I did sleep with him. But we don't talk about it.
Look at, look at.
You understand, I called you as a witness first, and I asked you if you were seeing anybody, didn't I?
I'm not seeing him. He lives in
Oh,
Chattanooga.
you just having sex with him?
Yeah.
I had sex with him twice.
Twice, oh, I did sleep with him, now I have
But we
slept with
don't
him
text
multiple
about
times.
He lives in Chattanooga. I slept with him twice.
Right.
Where?
And 2 times in a hotel.
Oh,
Where?
One time in a hotel, one time in a hotel.
Where?
you're still married.
First time was Nashville. Second time was in Murfreesboro.
Oh, you travel
Who
around
paid
the
for it?
country for dick.
You did?
So you're looking for somebody else to start taking care of?
Yeah.
No, I don't want him. We don't even really talk now because I thought I was going to work it out with my husband.
Well, you lied
Wanted
to him.
to.
He asked you if you were dating anybody. You know what you told him? If you were seeing somebody.
I'm not seeing anybody.
You just having sex with somebody.
I had sex with him twice.
Did he ask you if you were seeing somebody or having a relationship with somebody?
He did, and I
And
don't
you lied,
consider
didn't
that
you?
seeing someone.
You lied, didn't you?
I'd ask that my client be given the opportunity to answer the questions Ms. Roberts poses.
I apologize.
Trying to answer the
Please
question.
allow her to answer the question.
You lied to your husband about having sex with
He didn't
somebody.
ask if I had sex with someone.
He didn't ask if you had sex. What did he ask you?
If I was seeing anyone, and I'm not.
And you're not. You just having sex with somebody.
I did twice, and I'm being honest about that.
Well, where were your kids when you were shacking up with this man while you're married?
Good question.
Well, at one time, my mom was watching them.
Wow.
Okay.
And the other time, my mom was watching them both times, actually.
Did you advise her and tell her that you were going to meet another man?
No.
Well, she wouldn't have condoned that, would she?
No.
She would have been quite angry.
Yes.
Who is this
She
man?
loves Jody.
What's his name?
Will.
What's his name?
Will.
What's his name?
Say it.
Please give his full name.
I don't care about his last name. I'm just trying to find out who, is he a coworker or just somebody she met
Oh,
with?
no, it's not a coworker. I met him on Instagram years ago, and I met with him twice. He lives in Chattanooga.
I just thought
and
I missed it.
Well,
It's-
and I would like his name. I would like his name.
Will Hansen.
Will what?
Will Hansen.
Hanton?
With the H.
Poor Will.
Hanton.
Hansen.
Hanson. I'm sorry. I don't have my hearing aids in.
Poor Will. Slid into her DMs years ago. Been liking her Instagram photos, putting little heart and eyes and emojis down into her comments section. Finds out that she's going through marital problems and arranges a meetup to finally feel what her 3X baby father to inside looks like. Ah, poor Will. Taken advantage of by a woman who was letting her mother watch her kids while receiving dick from him. Shame. Shame.
And when were these liaisons?
The exact dates I don't. I'd have to.
This has gone on a while. She's admitted to having
It's-
a little,
So,
an affair. We're here on division of debt and possession of the house. With respect to the division of
Deserves
debt,
nothing.
marital fault is not a factor.
I'll move on, Judge. The only other question I was going to ask is who paid for the gas and whose car did you use to drive to meet
ask
your...
that question and that'll be the last one.
He paid for everything.
He gave you gas money?
Yes. Cash.
How much did he give you?
$80.
So this man you met on Instagram gave you $80 to meet him in a hotel room in Murfreesboro and in Nashville to have sex.
He didn't
Yes.
give
No,
me.
I'm going to object. That assumes facts, not in evidence. She's implying something totally different. And
What am I implying?
Yeah,
I
she
think you're implying
testified she gave him.
met with him for money.
Pardon?
The way I took the question was that
She was saying Ms. Roberts is implying that she is having sex with this man for money. I think she's implying that she was asking whether she had expended marital funds to meet her paramour, and that was the question that was put forth, and she testified that the gentleman gave her money for gas and so forth. I didn't take it that it was in any implication of anything.
Is there any other times that somebody's given you any other money that you've not disclosed on your income and expense statement? First, you only told stories because you were covering for your kids. Then you told a story about having relations with another man while you're still married. And you also told a story about the fact of threatening to call the police and have Mr. Tootle kicked out of the house. And you have said that, haven't you?
Right, I did not say that.
You did, you're sure?
I'm 100%
You
sure.
understand, we've had, there could be surveillance.
Totally
So
fine.
you don't want to recant that right now.
No.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You have every opportunity before this hearing is over with to recant that statement. Are you, again, testifying that you never made a threat to him to call the police and have him thrown out of the house?
The one about me throwing myself against the wall, I did not say that.
Okay, well, what did you say?
Which time when I threatened it?
Well, obviously, there's more than one threat.
Because he is kind of a bully. And yes, I will threaten to call the cops on you if you threaten me.
Okay.
Meaning him.
I don't, you can threaten me all you want to, but
I-
when did you threaten him to call the police on him and have him thrown out of the house? When did you do it?
I didn't call.
I didn't ask if you called, I said, when did you make that threat?
I did it several times. It was when he mentioned it too, back for December and then between January and March. I don't know the exact dates.
I mean, just last week you did it, didn't you?
He was being rude to me. He said, I can't wait till you're out of this house. Wait till a judge sees this. I'm gonna make sure you're gone. You and your kids.
So man is rude to you, therefore you threaten to get him thrown out of his house with false allegations. Yeah, that makes sense.
Will be out on the street.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna call the cops on you if you keep threatening me.
Wow.
So telling you you're rude and he
Well,
wants you out of the
stop.
house is, you're gonna call the police.
I
That's
told him to stop and he did.
all.
That's all. Oh, disgusting.
Bognick, you heard, Ms. Roberts asked you why you want the property sold, correct?
All right, let's not get into her defense.
He
In this house and not
Right,
have
we-
much interaction?
Right, we have a bonus room upstairs that he has been staying up there. And we seem to coexist pretty well, considering.
No more questions, Your Honor.
You don't have anywhere to go, what are you gonna do if the house sells?
You understand the question? She's asking if you don't have any place to go, where are you gonna go when the house sells?
I
Obviously.
might have to get help from my sister.
So you have the availability to do that?
No, I'll have to reach out if that's the case. She lives in Texas. I have no family in Tennessee, besides my mom.
But of course, until you were caught on cross-examination about telling numerous lies, you never raised one issue or told anything about some verbal abuse, did you?
That's why it was brought up about me having to threaten to call the police.
Why did you have sex with this man after the divorce was served if he's such an abusive person?
Well, same instance, he had sex with me.
Well, I asked that question.
was that
too,
one of
but
those
You're on the
nights.
witness stand now.
We were both drinking and
No, I
It
want to
just-
object.
he's my
This is
husband.
outside the scope.
and I do still love him.
Hold on just a second. The objections outside the scope of Voodoo Act sustained. I think we've heard all we need to about that. So.
Have you ever been verbally abusive?
No, we called each other names, but that's it.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Have you ever been verbally abusive to your wife?
We've called each other names. What she said about being out of the house, I did say that. Just because I thought that's what was gonna happen.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
So do you have any questions?
I may have just a moment.
You threatened her that you and your 3 kids are going to be out of this house.
I did not say you and your 3 kids will be out of this house. I said it'll be up to the judge.
No more questions.
That's all.
All right, so the examination is done, and now they give it over to the judge for his final summary.
You knew her for 7 years before you married her, right?
I did.
All right. You helped her get a job,
I did.
and you knew she was carrying another man's child when you married her, right?
She already had the baby when we got
Already
married.
had the baby. So she had
Correct.
3 children by 3 different men, and you knew all of that before you married her.
I did.
So you kind of knew what you were getting into, or at least you suspected you knew.
I kind of figured it was a 50-50 whether it was going to work out.
So
Stupid, I know.
Stupid
most
as
men, when
hell.
they get married, they don't think about 50-50 chance of it working out when they, ask someone to marry them.
If you knew it was a 50-50 chance, my G, why this one? Even the judge is laughing at you.
To believe
Although I will say that with the divorce rate in this country, that's probably not far from the average of what marriages work out and what don't. But my question to this is, you expected there would be problems, I assume.
Yeah, I wanted to believe what she was telling me. She was past going out and partying, and she was ready to be a family and settle down, and she was looking for
And you
stability.
Cared
And
for
so-
her and you wanted to help her.
And obviously for 8 years, there's something there, you know, I was fed the whole 9 yards.
Point is that you went into this knowing that there could be problems, right?
I did.
And it turned out there are problems.
Within a couple of weeks, I figured out there was problems.
As soon as she got the ring.
But you say you still love her.
I do, but I don't think I have the same kind of love that I had before. It's more, I care about her.
All right, that's all. Step down.
Thank you.
That's our proof, Your Honor.
All right, let's get to the ruling.
There's an old saying, oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Y'all have heard that before?
Yes.
It applies to everybody in this case. I think Mr. Tootle deceived himself when he thought that he was going to be able to marry this lady and
Turn it to hoe into a
fix her
house.
problems and that they would live happily ever after.
Right.
Although he admits today he thought maybe he only had a 50-50 chance of success in doing so. Of course, Ms. Balknick has testified that, or at least there was testimony that, I don't think she testified about it, but there was testimony that she didn't realize that she didn't really love him until her therapist, I think it was, that told her she didn't really love him. And if she went out and had sex with 2 other men during the marriage, obviously that would be something that she didn't marry. She didn't love him. So this is a situation that is a temporary hearing that is designed to keep the parties in life and limb together until such time as if they can conclude this matter after discovery and after mediation takes place. They are both asking for a divorce. So therefore, as was pointed out, whether Ms. Balknick wants to move out of the house or not, right now, that's coming. I mean, you're gonna have to do it sooner or later. Mr. Tootle has indicated that he cares for her children, and his concern is that she may make some false allegation against him while they're continuing to live together. So it's going to take time for her to move out. The Dixon County school system concludes its school year on what, May 23rd, I think it is?
Yes, sir.
And it is this court's opinion that these parties will continue to cohabit in the marital residence until June 1st. At that point, Ms. Balknick will vacate the property. Mr. Tootle will continue to have temporary possession of the marital residence. I make that statement because of the fact that it is apparent that Mrs. Balknick cannot afford to pay the house payments, and therefore if he is forced to leave, he's going to still have to make the house payments. She has indicated that she wants to sell the house, which obviously indicates she would then have to leave. In the interim period that they reside together, she will pay all payments that she has on her income and expense statement. I have added, she's showing a shortage of her income and expenses that she's negative $1,505.56. If you add back in the child support payments and her renewable income, then that comes to $5,978.46. So it's clearly more than her expenses are, even considering those expenses, which when I look at, no, and I don't mean this to be harsh, but I don't spend $489 on recreation and entertainment a month.
Call it out.
Clothing and personal care, $400 a month. Folks, you're going through a divorce. You're going to have to tighten up a lot of these expenses that are otherwise you might do if you're living in a nice home and having 2 incomes that total over $200,000 a year. This is not going to be the case.
Right.
Short-term marriages that go through divorce, the court's usually looking to put the parties back in the situation they were in prior to the marriage. It's just that simple. Short-term marriages of 6 months do not typically require or even justify the awarding of alimony or spousal support, absent some compelling circumstances. So I'm just saying these expenses that are here are going to have to be looked at. Her car payment of $1,034.27 is fixed. It's going to have to be paid. She's got cell phones for a 10-year-old. So be it. She'll have to pay for it. Her automobile insurance goes with her car. Her food and groceries are $1,200 a month. She's only going to be required to provide food and groceries for her and her children. He will have to provide food for himself. Laundry and cleaning doesn't seem to be particularly outrageous, but the $400 for clothing and personal care and $489 recreational entertainment may be an area that Ms. Balknick has to kind of reduce. Mr. Tootle will be required to pay those expenses that are shown on his income and expense statement. Right now, he's paying the house mortgage. He wants to keep the house. The issue of any credit that he is to receive from making the payments on a temporary basis, any increase in the equity that might result from that will be reserved for the final hearing in this case. He's providing right now for the next 2 months at least a place for her and the children to reside until June 1st. And that, in my opinion, would justify that. I've taken away the $300 phone bill that she's now going to be required to pay, which means he'll have some small amount. But I also think he's got a greater amount than what's shown on here because there's some flexibility in his income. In any event, he'll pay the monthly mortgages on the house and all of those other bills that he has paid, with the exception of the Chevrolet Tahoe, which she is going to be required to pay. And with that being the case, I will put down this further order. These parties are both restrained and prohibited from involving law enforcement in any way, shape, form, or fashion against one another to gain an advantage in this divorce action, or to seek to have the other removed from the home. A violation of this order will be contempt of court. I'm just simply saying that. I'm not saying you would do that, but I'm saying there's been some allegation that you were going to call the police. There's some reason he might, but I'm simply saying you can't do that under this order. And as a result of that, if something happens and it turns out that somebody violates that order, they're looking at 10 days in jail for even doing that, making that type of report. If there is any indication of violence in the home, you must come to this court, file an application for an order of protection with the Chancery Court of Dixon County, Tennessee, so you will have that protection. And if you feel threatened or you have the right to apply to this court for an order of protection. They will present it to me personally for me to review, since I'm the one who's hearing this case, and I'll determine whether or not there is a need for an order of protection, and then probably would have to set a hearing even if I denied it. So both of these parties are restrained and prohibited from arguing, fussing, fighting, speaking negatively to each other, cursing each other, certain words that are just not acceptable. And you've uttered one of those in regards to your wife. Whether you agree with what kind of a life she's lived in the past or what kind of behavior she's exhibited, she is your wife. She deserves more respect just for that fact alone. And he deserves, being your husband, to have a little bit more respect than what you've shown him. So treat each other with respect in this time you live together. Either of you has the right to vacate the home upon your decision to do so. You can move out and let her have the house pending that. She can move out if she doesn't like living there with you. But you're going to cohabit it peacefully. There will be no fussing, fighting, cursing, or anything else. You'll reside in the upstairs bedroom. She'll reside downstairs. There will be no damage inflicted on this house by anyone associated with that. So both sides are prohibited from destroying, damaging, or whatever. You are prohibited from allowing your 10-year-old to drive the car, at least at this point. Just don't let him drive the car. Don't let him shoot holes in the wall with a bow and arrow or whatever it was that was there. Just be no damage to the residents. Absent an agreement otherwise, I'm going to order that there be an appraisal conducted on the value of this house to determine. I know that wasn't necessarily requested, but it goes with the question of selling. Let's find out what the house is worth. It may be worth considerably more, in which case you may have a lot of equity that you may be entitled to. It may be lost in the downturn of the economic market that real estate has suffered recently, it may be worth less. So as a result of that, we're going to order that the parties agree upon, unless you have some,
Chris Chatham.
I was just about to utter those words. Chris Chatham would be the person who usually does the appraisals in this area. Do you have any objection to that? Chris Chatham will be authorized to perform an evaluation of the house. And then the issue of we'll reserve the issue of selling the house. If there is substantial equity that Mrs. Bachnick would be entitled to, then it may be necessary to sell it. Mr. Tootle, you have exhausted all of your equity, but the court will reserve the issue of your contribution of separate monies and the determination of how any equity in the home is to be divided. So obviously, if there's no equity above the separate contributions, then it may make sense to award it to him, and he's simply eats whatever the loss is of his equity. But otherwise, that's the order of the court. Mrs. Bachnick's mother is going to continue to reside there to help her with the children.
Yep, you guys are probably just as surprised as what I am. You know, the poor husband got told, hey man, that is your wife, treat her with respect. Meanwhile, the wife is getting porked by the IG friend. Even when the judges are men, you can see how they tiptoe around the wrongdoing and how often their talking points are in favor of the woman. Even offering that her expenses are crazy with a slight slap on the wrist, comparing it to people who both brought in $200K per year, concluding with the official appraisal of the house so they can eventually sell it, in which she would be entitled to some form of equity. And I'm not going to go on and play it, but the judge agrees that the mother should be able to stay in the house for the next couple of months until June. And again, urging everyone to just keep civil within that time while they work to continue to finalize the divorce. But yeah, 6 months of marriage, 3 kids by 3 baby fathers, putting down $160,000 on an $800,000 house, purchasing the vehicle, having the mama live in, she's cheating on him. Then after all of that, the judge concludes that he lied to himself, the man, while not addressing that the woman lied to him the entire time, even after admitting in a therapy session that she was no longer in love with him. Gentlemen, let his lesson be a lesson to the wise, especially in the land of Sprinkle Sprinkle, which she is obviously a follower and a participant of, is that they can say whatever that they want on their way to getting married, because they understand that when you begin to tie your finances to them, and if they don't make any money and you do, that you can be on the hook for bullshit. Let this also be a lesson. This is a grand lesson in being the nice guy. This is a grand lesson in being a pushover. This is a grand lesson of getting taken advantage of, because in the eyes of the court, at the end of it, you just become a math equation. Who cares how long that you've worked in order to build up enough money to afford the down payment of a house like this? The fact is that you entered in a marriage contract, i.e. a business contract, and you put her name on the damn deed. You being her insurance policy was her plan all along. Stay vigilant out there, my G's, because if you don't take action, it can happen to you. Until next time, YouTube. Peace!
You don't wanna see me get vexed. Bars on your phone, tell a man you can't jack. The big the ones who can't stretch. Breaking the neck when we in the car next. You don't wanna see me get vexed. Bars on your phone, tell a man you can't jack. The big the ones who can't stretch. Breaking the neck when we in the car next. That bars need defibrillation ASAP. Get boxed with a straight gap. I'm reminded of mind state they lack. Every time that they incline, we go way back. All they wanna be is just